All right, let's get right into it. We're about to tackle one of the weirdest, most counterintuitive ideas in all of personal finance. It's this. Why is it that sometimes having more money in the bank can actually make you feel worse? And we're going to talk about a specific number, $20,000, that seems to be the magic point where that feeling finally flips. I mean, seriously, have you ever felt this? You do everything you're supposed to do. You scrimp, you save, you finally get a few $1,000 in the bank, and instead of feeling safe, you're waking up at 3 a.m. with that cold knot of dread in your stomach. It's a total paradox. And this one quote just nails a feeling that trips up so many of us. So yeah, that's the big question, right? Why does having more money make us feel less secure? This is the mystery we're going to solve today. And let me tell you, it has almost nothing to do with math. This is all about psychology. We're going to dig into why that first big savings goal doesn't bring the relief you thought it would, and what is actually going on inside your head. All right, first up, the $5,000 anxiety trap. And let's just get this out of the way. If you've saved up around $5,000 and you feel more stressed out than ever, you're not crazy. You are not alone. You've just stumbled right into a classic psychological trap. And this really lays out the bizarre disconnect, doesn't it? The expectation is that you'll feel proud, secure, like, yes, I finally got a cushion. But the reality for so many people, it's just terror. You feel totally vulnerable, with this little voice in the back of your head just screaming, one wrong move and this is all gone. It's a huge gap between what you thought would happen and what's actually happening. So, okay, but why? Why does this happen? Well, it's because $5,000 is stuck in this really weird middle zone, right? It's just enough money that you feel like you should be secure, but you're also painfully aware that it's not nearly enough to handle a real disaster. You know, one big car repair, one medical bill, and poof, it's gone. So you're just stuck on what you could call the anxiety plateau, this miserable space between being totally broke and actually feeling safe. Your brain on scarcity. Okay, so to really get why this anxiety plateau is a thing, we need to talk about our brains. Specifically, how our brains are wired from, caveman times to deal with scarcity and risk. And spoiler alert, those ancient instincts are not always your friend when it comes to your checking account. And this right here is the absolute key to the whole thing. It's a bias called loss aversion. And what it means is that for our brains, the pain of losing something is about twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining that exact same thing. Think about that. So once you have that $5,000, your brain doesn't celebrate the win. Nope. It immediately switches into high alert mode, constantly scanning for all the threats, all the ways you could lose it. Now look, on paper, logically, your $5,000 should feel pretty solid. I mean, the average car repair, it's about $800. You can handle that, no problem. You'd still have over $4,000 left. Mathematically, this should be a piece of cake. But here's the thing. Our brains are terrible at thinking in averages. Our brains don't do averages. Our brains do catastrophes. Your mind just completely leaps over that simple $800 repair and goes straight to the absolute worst case scenario. What if the transmission goes? That's thousands. What if the whole AC unit dies in the middle of summer? Thousands more. What if I need a root canal? And the real nightmare, the thing that keeps you up at night, is your brain imagining all of it happening at the same time. I love this quote because it's such a perfect metaphor for this feeling. Having $5,000 is like you've managed to build a small campfire in the middle of a windstorm. Yeah, it's giving off a little bit of warmth, a little bit of light. But are you relaxing by it? No way. You're constantly on edge, just waiting for that next big gust of wind to come and blow the whole thing out. So let's get into the actual neuroscience of what's happening here. When you're in that state of financial stress, your amygdala, that's your brain's little fear and panic button, it just goes into overdrive. It starts pumping out this chronic, low-grade anxiety. And when the fear center is running the show, it literally hijacks your prefrontal cortex. That's the smart, logical, long-term planning part of your brain. It basically shuts it down. You are literally not capable of thinking clearly when you're in this state. The $20,000 tipping point. Okay, so if $5,000 is this anxiety trap, how the heck do you get out? Well, that brings us to the tipping point. There is a number where this whole psychological game changes. And it's not a slow, gradual climb, it's a sudden leap. And this is maybe the most important thing to get from this whole discussion. The shift that happens isn't just mathematical, it's neurological. When you cross that $20,000 line, it's not just that you have 4 times more money than you had at $5,000. Something deep inside your brain actually changes. Your entire relationship with risk, with opportunity, it gets completely rewired. And look, this isn't just some theory. We have the data to prove it. Some really cool research from Vanguard actually tracked people's psychological well-being as their savings grew. And check this out. Going from nothing to your first couple $1,000, huge boost in happiness, like 21%. But then, look what happens. Between 2 and 5,000, it completely flatlines. That's the anxiety plateau we were talking about. The next truly massive jump in well-being doesn't happen until you get up into that $15,000 to $20,000 range. It's like you've unlocked a new level in the game. Here's probably the best analogy for the whole thing. At $5,000, you're treading water. That's it. All your energy is just going into not drowning, just keeping your head above the surface. But at $20,000, you're not treading water anymore. You can actually start swimming for shore. You have a direction, and you have the confidence and the energy to actually make progress toward it. A new kind of security. So, what does this new level of security actually look like in day-to-day life? Well, here's the secret. It's not that emergencies stop happening. They don't. It's that your entire response to them fundamentally changes. Okay, let's make this super practical with something I call the laptop test. Imagine your computer just dies, kaput. With $5,000 in the bank, that feels like a full-blown crisis. You spend days agonizing, comparing specs, trying to find the absolute cheapest thing that will just barely work. It's stressful. Now picture the same dead laptop, but you have $20,000 saved. What is it now? It's an inconvenience. It's an errand. You go out, you buy a good machine that will last, you get back to work. The problem was identical. Your response was completely different. And that's really what that $20,000 is buying you. It's so much more than just a pile of money. It's protection. Protection from your own bad, fear-driven decisions. It buys you the cognitive space, the mental bandwidth to actually think clearly under pressure. It's walking away money that lets you negotiate harder. It's the confidence to actually invest for your future. And maybe most importantly, it gives you the ability to turn life's problems into interesting puzzles instead of terrifying threats. How to get there? All right, so understanding the goal is great. But the big question is, how do you actually get there? Especially since we know that journey from $5,000 to $20,000 is the absolute hardest part. So let's talk about a few psychological tricks you can use to make that climb a whole lot easier. So here are 3 big ideas. Number 1, reframe it. Your emergency fund isn't competing with your other goals like investing. It's the foundation that makes all those other goals possible and safer. It enables them. Number 2, build with systems, not willpower. Don't rely on being disciplined. Just automate it. Set up the direct deposit and forget it. Your willpower will run out, but a good system runs forever. And number 3, and this one might feel a little weird, you have to be willing to use the money to build it. Spending some of that fund on something that makes you safer or helps you earn more, like a reliable car to get to work, that's not a failure. That's a strategic investment in your own security. And this quote really just sums the whole thing up perfectly. We have to stop thinking about our emergency fund like it's some kind of participation trophy that just sits on a shelf collecting dust. That's not what it is. We need to start treating it for what it really is, a cognitive performance enhancer. It's a tool. It's not a dusty old safety net. It's an active part of your financial toolkit that helps your brain work better. So that's the final thought I really want to leave you with. At the end of the day, the goal isn't just the $20,000. The goal is what that money buys you, the mental freedom, the clarity, the confidence. So ask yourself this. What would change in your life right now if your biggest problems felt less like panic attacks and more like puzzles just waiting to be solved?